Welcome to Rad Chat. I'm your host, Brandilynn, and today I have a really special guest because he does so many creative aspects. So we have Alexander Void, who is a multi-level musician and going to be an upcoming author. So thanks so much, man, for coming on the podcast.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun. So I always like to start by just telling people how I know the guests. And we actually used to work together at Hot Topic. Hot Topic Topanga, what's up?
It's so long ago. I didn't know how many years.
It was so long ago because I was still in college. It was like one of my 3 jobs at the time. So like I didn't work there as much as everybody else. But yeah, so long ago, I feel like. Definitely like 4 years maybe.
Is it that short? I felt like
Yeah, it feels like a longer time, but
yeah, but COVID doesn't help because time kind of freezes.
yeah, right. I know, but it's just kind of funny because I feel like we both have those personalities that like do fit into Hot Topic. Like I was kind of the like alternative Disney girl, and you were like the OG like old school Hot Topic goth dude. And like when you went to the Hot Topic, you knew like, oh, he's like he belongs there.
Yeah, it's funny because that was always a problem. Like with the upper management.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a problem because they didn't like that I was old school Hot Topic while we're moving to a new phase.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I remember I got talked to a lot. They're like, you should start wearing Hot Topic clothing because I was very picky. So
yeah.
like, a lot of
Oh, that's funny. I guess that's true. I could see why. Like I feel like I just naturally wore the clothing because I would shop there before I worked there. That you're right. Like you just had like the old school vibe, but I thought that was cool because it was like I vibed off of that because I remember that days of old school, like this is like what Hot Topic started as. And I think that was cool because those people that would come to shop at our store knew you for that. So they would come to you and just want to talk, and like just chill and like come to like have a good conversation with the salesperson.
Yeah, because I remember the first time I went to a Hot Topic was the one, I don't know if you've been to that one back then. It's the one in City Walk where they actually have flames in the front. They had like 2 torches of flames.
Yeah. That one's big too. That one's really big.
Yeah, so that was like the old school Hot Topic days. And then it turned into more of a, I don't know, more
pop culture-y Hot Topic.
Yes, perfect. Yeah.
That's how I describe it. Yeah. I feel like old school Hot Topic, like I feel like the one thing they've kept is the music. Like they're very still on like rock genre music. And I mean the wall has gotten smaller, sadly, but I mean it's still like the staple. But yeah, I think like the difference is like it was more so like metal-y goth, and now it's more like mainstream pop culture because now there's so much going on. Like you have superheroes, Disney, anime, like everything.
Which makes sense because that is the hot topic right now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess it makes sense for the title. But anyways, I think we got along pretty quickly, I think, because like we just kind of vibed off the same music. Your vibe was cool with my vibe. At least that's my memory. I just remember us just being cool from the start. And then after I left, life happens, but we were always pretty cool. And like, I feel like me, you, and Karina would like hang out after hours and stuff. So thanks. So it's cool to like have you come on and like actually talk about like all the stuff you've been doing since it's been so long.
Yeah, it's funny because you always had that uppity personality. So you always have that. And I think that always went with me because a lot of people were kind of scared of me. They thought I was like dark and brooding, but I always had that up personality too.
Yeah.
I think that's why we always just were like,
we're cool.
Yeah, we're just cool. We like each other's music, each other's whatever. We're always just like, yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you like Disney stuff. Like, I'm not a fan of this, but I could do this. And you're like, yeah, I know this. And
yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good thing what you said was like, my personality was kind of like, I'm very kind of extra, but like, I'm not scared of goth because I also love that. Like, I love metal music, and I'm so it's funny because I'm kind of like both sides of the coin. And so yeah, I kind of understood like I'm gonna talk to you because you're a cool dude, and like, and then I felt like for you, so then I'm like this weird extra crazy Disney girl, so it was cool that you were like not like this bitch.
yeah, like, who are you to talk to me?
Yeah.
I'm
so
old school.
Yeah, so I think that was really cool. And then I think I maybe left before you. And because we both worked at Topanga, and then I left. And then did you stay at Topanga?
I was there for a little bit, then that started becoming more of a problem, the whole old school Hot Topic thing.
Okay.
Yeah, like that was just raging up behind the scenes. I don't know why. And then so finally I was just like fed up and I just left. I left. I bounced around the mall. So like I did go to H&M.
Oh, okay.
I was there for a bit because I bought more H&M clothes at the time.
Close, yeah.
And I forgot what else there. But yeah, and then from there I just left, started bartending, and then did all that.
Nice. Okay, so then currently you bartend, which obviously COVID kind of put that to a hold.
Completely.
So I guess in a sense, COVID kind of like really had you focus purely on your passion. So how did you first get into music? We know you're a musician. We know you've put out music. If you follow Alexander Void, you know he's very into that scene. He puts his music out. So how did you really get into that?
Funny enough, the real beginning, the origin story of Alexander Void, before I was even named Alexander Void.
Yeah, how did you decide to become Alexander Void? Because when I knew you, you were already that.
Yeah. I started off back in, it was like high school, actually. I think the first year of high school, my name, I always wrote ALX. So that was my name back then. It was just Alex, ALX. And people always saw me as this extravagant guy. I was always like against the norm. So at that time, I played trumpet because I was like, I need to learn an instrument. So I played trumpet.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I had a lot of friends, and I was kind of the popular kid because I got along with everybody. Even though I was like almost the only dark kid in my house. Everyone else was kind of gangstery and kind of like in that realm.
You're born and raised in California?
Yes, I was always born and raised, mainly Hollywood. At this point, I was like around Van Nuys.
Okay.
So I was there, and a couple of people, like everyone who was into rock kind of knew each other because we were so small.
Mm-hmm.
Like even with me, the gangster guys that I hung out with a lot, they would call me, "Hey, K-Rocker," because like that's all.
Oh yeah, because K-Rock is the biggest music station out here. That's funny.
Yeah, so it was weird. But yeah, so a couple of my friends, they wanted to start a band, and because I kind of had a popularity there, they were kind of using me. They're like, "We don't really need a trumpet, but good." So I would go, and that band would kind of get bigger. Then the lead singer, he just left. He just left to follow his passion, which is metal.
Got you. So they used to just want you to come to bring crowds, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
And I was fine with it. I was like, this is cool. Like, we ended up playing like kind of a ska band. So because
I love ska, yeah.
So they needed my trumpet eventually.
Gwen Stefani.
Yes, perfect. So from there, the singer left, and then they told me, because I'm still the face, they wanted me to be lead singer, and I knew nothing about singing.
Okay.
So what ended up happening was they were like, okay, so let's just change the ska band, because it's kind of ska core, so it's still a lot of like loud. So they're like, change the ska band to a punk band. So I don't need to know how to sing. I just yell.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, and a lot of times it was funny too, because like I would make up lyrics.
Okay.
I wouldn't know anything, but you can't tell, so I'm yelling.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So you were just really quick on your feet then.
Yeah. So from there, that's how that happened. The band got pretty big. We moved to Hollywood and handled that. We got signed by a label, which I don't want to name only because I only speak bad things about it.
Oh, okay.
I'm writing a book, and they look so bad.
Oh no. I mean, that's pretty common, I feel like, about labels. Like, I don't know if you ever watched the Jared Leto Artifact documentary about their label. Yeah, so labels are tricky business.
Yeah, they were sued and then countersued. It was a good one. So that happened, and then finally, like a lot happened. Not to bring it down, but one of our members died, and our label was like, okay, we'll just get a replacement. Let's just keep going.
Oh wow! Like you didn't have grief. Oh wow, that's sad.
That same day, we didn't even find out.
Oh shit!
We thought he was just late, and they're like, no, we're finding a replacement. He's gonna be here like in an hour, and we're like, what the hell? What happened?
Yeah, holy shit. And like you're so young too at that time. Like and because you're saying this is like high school, right? So then it's like you don't even really fathom what a label is at that age. And then to deal with grief of a band member, you're like, what the fuck? That's gnarly.
It's my first time ever knowing somebody who died, it was intense.
Yeah.
And the label being so heartless like that. And eventually they let us out. And then they're like, okay, take a couple hour break, but we still have studio time. I left. I just left, never showed up. It sucked. It's like, because years later, I saw the guitarist for that band.
Oh, okay.
And he told me that once I left, everything just fell apart, and they tried to replace me, but they couldn't. And then finally, everything collapsed, and everything, because we were all underage. We're all like, I think at that time I was almost 17, and the manager had to take all the heat.
Oh yeah, because I mean you guys are underage.
Yeah, he was like screwed and stuff. He
It was
came out
like
of the
egg on his head, basically.
yeah, he looked so bad. So from there, I kind of just dabble into people's bands. Like I just help out, mainly synthesizer. I like piano so much.
Oh, okay.
I just dabbled in a lot of little bands. I love a little club, like club rec bands. And that's how I started bartending, because I started playing.
Oh, because you were familiar with those area venues.
Yeah. So that's how that happened. The bartending is a whole other story too. I don't even want to talk about that. It's messy. But
we can get into it later.
and then finally, I quit music. I'm like, I'm done with music. I'm tired of these bands. Yeah, I tried to start a couple of bands. I started like an indie band because I was into the Killers. So I was like, maybe I fit in here. Didn't fit. I started a bunch of weird stuff, and then I got into the goth stuff, and I fell in love with it. But again, the band. So many people. Not trying to speak ill of LA, but so many people just want to party. So a lot of my band members, they don't want to practice. They want to party. They just want to be famous, and that's it, just to party it up. While with me, I'm like, the arts. We need the arts.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't just become famous. You have to put in that work of practice and becoming like one with the band and actually like make songs.
Yeah, and then when we played live shows, it was complete crap. Like we were always, because we never practiced. So I was like the only one who knew my own lyrics, and that's it. Everybody else kind of like, come on, guys, come on. The drummer's like drunk and like being sloppy and like a bunch of stuff. So finally, that's when I said no more bands. I'm not gonna start any more bands. And then I was like, I'm gonna quit music. So that's when this happened. That's when I became an author.
Okay.
So I started writing a book, and I couldn't find a name for the main character, so I always put Alexander as their name.
Okay.
And at one point, I was trying to find a last name because I wanted this bad guy character to name him Mr. Whatever instead of the first name. So I tried a bunch of different things, and I just fell into void.
Oh, okay. Do you feel like there's like kind of a underlining meaning because a void in life?
This book is called Love Circus.
Okay.
And it's all about trying to find love because there's something missing in there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that's the void.
So it's like a double whammy there.
Oh, it's a mess. Once you read the book, the reason why it's taking so long is because it's way too complicated. So I'm trying to keep it streamlined and
get the levels all figured out.
Yeah, because also it's a mystery.
Okay.
And it became a trilogy. So
that's dope. So you're kind of like in the middle of all of it.
Yeah, because I want the ending to make sense. I want the clues to all make sense in all three books.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason why it's taking so long, is because I want to finish all three books before I even publish one.
Yeah. But that's really cool to know that that's kind of like where Alexander Void came from, because I feel like personally it's like your persona in a sense. Like that is your like I don't know, I feel like I have an alter ego. I have like me, Brandilynn, who's like the Disney girl, like this is me, like on the podcast. And then I feel like my Instagram and my modeling is like my alter ego. Like, okay, this is Brandilynn 2.0.
You look very confident in your modeling.
I feel like for you, that's kind of like maybe the situation. Like Alexander Void is like your kind of like alter ego in that sense.
Strangely, the character that I created as Alexander Void, it is who I would want to be.
Okay.
So it makes sense to be an alter ego.
Yeah. And like that's just like the assumption of, what I would perceive it as. But that's cool to know, like it didn't just come to you. You kind of had to go through all of those beginning bands and like the trials and tribulations, and then to like start your book to be like, oh wait, I got the name.
Yeah. And it was funny too, because I would listen to a lot of soundtracks when I would write, and I never get that vibe that I want.
Okay.
And that's where music came in again.
Oh, okay.
I got my equipment back. I bought a couple of extra little things, like I had it in a storage. Then I started making ambient atmosphere music.
Oh, okay. So make your own soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. So I just made this music to write too. I wasn't gonna release it anywhere.
Yeah.
Then someone I was seeing at the time, she was like so into it. She's like, "Hey, give me that." Cool. And then she's like, "I could imagine lyrics here." So I'm like, "I'll try one with lyrics." And that's where Alexander Void, the music, came about.
Oh, that's really cool. Kind of just to backtrack, just to kind of like keep the train of thought. So, did you self-teach yourself? Obviously, you played trumpet, and then you said you kind of just like went into the punk vocals because you could just kind of scream and like learn from there. Did you have to also teach yourself synthesizing and piano and all that?
Okay, so trumpet, I took a class early on. I was actually
Okay.
in the school band trumpet stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, later on in life, I always had an obsession with piano. Like in my brain, I'm like, piano is the all grandmaster of all things. So yeah, I took some classes for piano, and I only took like beginner classes and a little bit more. I like dropped out in the middle of that, of like the intermediate classes. So I know the basics. So if you do hear my music and you hear the piano, it's like he's just doing pretty much power chords kind of
Okay.
situation. So and I'm like, it sounds good because mainly what I do is drum beats. I do a lot
Okay.
of drum beats, and that's all self-taught. So the
Oh, that's
program that
cool.
I use for my music is self-taught. The piano, if I do more, it's just trial and error. And
Okay. Okay.
so everything's
Oh, that's
self-taught.
cool. So I feel like the evolution of your vocals though, how was that to be like, okay, like I'm gonna quit bands, I'm done with them, they're too much drama, too much work, I wanna be my own person. How did you work on your vocals from there then?
I did it. I left it. I dropped music completely. So when I came back and she wanted to hear vocals, what I did was instead of screaming, I whispered.
Oh, okay, okay.
So if you hear my music right now that's up on SoundCloud or Bandcamp,
It's
it's
very
all
quiet.
it's all me whispering. Like it's kind of close so you can still hear it. But how I used the vocals was just supposed to be to carry the song as another instrument as opposed to my vocals supposed to
Oh,
sing.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I know I'll never be a Jared Leto or a Brandon Flower. I'll never be up there. So I'm just another instrument.
That's cool. That's actually, I mean, that's a cool way to think about it because your vocals are an instrument. So to think of it like that and like as a physical instrument, that's actually a really cool way to do it. Like to think about it.
Yeah, somebody else who did this was who really pushed me. Without him, I don't even know him, but really pushed me. Like when I noticed him, is Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor.
Hmm.
It's just one guy, and he also didn't like his vocals. So what he did was also do that. He kind of messed up his voice a little bit, and a
Yeah.
lot of times just went with it. Like he knew his vocals were crap, but he's like, screw it, I'm just gonna go with it.
Yeah.
So I
Like you're just
still,
so passionate. Like he was just so passionate to become 9 inch. Yeah, 9 inch now.
yeah. So that's really my thing right now. I'm going more and more. If you look at my Instagram, I'm going more and more like hiding my face. I want to be
I feel
less.
like you've always kind of done that though.
Yeah, that's true. But there was a point where I posted tons of selfies. I'm like, oh, this.
Okay.
I don't know what to post. Here's my face. You
Got
know,
you.
it's kind of easy to go for me. So now I'm going more and more hiding my face, especially with the masks now. I'm like always wearing my mask.
It's easy. Yeah, there you go. It plays right and just black mass, you're good.
I'm good. I'm good.
So then what would you describe? So obviously if someone looks at you, they'll kind of assume like you're goth, right? Like that just was the assumptions of the human mind, right? Like simple-minded people look at that and be like, okay. So how would you describe your actual style and what your genre of music would be and how you would describe yourself, not the assumptions of people?
That's actually funny because yeah, there's a lot of people that I talk to still these days that they no longer identify themselves as goth, and it's because the gothic world kind of got convoluted. Like now, emo is part of goth. Like it or not, it just fused. We all fused together. Um, so it's hard because I remember going to a club once, and meeting a couple of friends. Well, I was seeing a girl and her friends, and I was like, "What's your first show?" Like here I am talking about gothic bands, and they're like, "Oh, The Used," and I'm like, "Okay,
That's
I
punk.
see."
Technically, it's punk.
I'm like, "I see where you're coming from," and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to a emo band soon next week." I'm like, "Okay, that's who they are." So I felt out of place because just like a Hot Topic, the club scene has changed too. There's more of those people than the old school goth stuff. So when I talk about Bauhaus and Joy Division, these people are kind of lost. Like,
Mhm.
who? And I'm like, you know that
Yeah.
song?
Like Dead Kennedys, like old school.
So yeah, so now what I consider myself, I still call myself goth. Like that's the joke in my YouTube channel that I call myself pretentious goth.
Hmm.
Is it making
I was
jokes
gonna
about
ask
that?
you about that.
Yeah.
So
It's a
that
joke
covers that.
on like I'm full of myself gothic old school goth. Because people used to tell me that when I would meet them at the clubs and stuff. They're like, "Oh no, he's old school." Like, of course. So there was that.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a cool thing about that though. Like there's a pride to old school. Like I'm very like I was at Warped Tour before like the new Warped Tour. You know, like there's like or like I've seen that band before you even knew who that band was. So there is a pride to that. So I think that's cool that you don't lose that. Like, yes, I am old school goth. What you gonna say about it?
so there was that, but lately I got obsessed with Edgar Allan Poe at one point, and not really his poems, but more like that he supposedly, they're still like back and forth, that he supposedly died penniless, and he didn't get famous until afterwards.
Oh, really?
He was always struggling through his life. I don't know how true that is because I do hear conflicting stories. So I made this whole movement back then when I had a clothing line. I sold it back then, but it's called the neo noir, which means the new black, which is me focusing on the new goth stuff of today. And that's kind of what I'm doing. So my pretentious goth reviews and stuff is our bands today. I'm trying to find new bands. Yeah. Like the first person that I did a review for, they were called Matt Black. And Matt Black is brand new. Like they just released that album like I think a week before I made the thing. And they're brand new. So they had other bands, but Matt Black as a band, as their first album, as their first release. So I'm like focusing now more on the new stuff.
Gotcha.
So if I would say a term, it would be the neo noir.
Okay.
Even though it doesn't really count.
No, but I mean the day and age too is like, you know, there's so many things that get created. Like in reference of tattooing, like everyone knows traditional tattoos, Japanese tattoos, but then new school became a new type of tattooing. So it's like you're just making a new genre in the genre. So like that's dope.
Yeah, that's the point. That's what I'm trying to do. So it's like I'm not rejecting the old bands, like the bands that stopped playing and stuff, but I am kind of trying to give a spotlight to the new creators of today. So if they don't die like Edgar Allan Poe, penniless. I'm like, support this band. Go check it out.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's really cool. And so now that's like your musical genres and taste. Who, obviously you mentioned Trent Reznor, but who else really like inspired you to kind of get into this type of music?
Very sadly.
It's really a scene too.
Yeah, very sad and obvious, Marilyn Manson, which sucks right now too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you can't deny, see, okay, this might be controversial, and obviously I'm not talking about him specifically, but cancel culture is very a double-edged sword because someone could be a shitty person. Like, he clearly is a shitty person and did shitty things, but he does have good songs too. So it's like, where is that balance? Like, what am I supposed to hate these songs that I grew up loving because it's a good song, and now because this guy's a shitty person? He could be a shitty person, but I still like that song.
Yeah, I had that battle all the time though. So can you separate the artist from the art?
Yeah.
And it's tough because the art kind of comes from you. So I think it's a part of the artist. So I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. And I mean, you as a musician, I'm sure that's kind of a always constant struggle now. Like, especially someone that you might have looked up to kind of come out as not maybe someone you thought he was.
Yeah, that happened actually a couple of times the last couple of years. There's like a couple of people that I even knew personally. And
really?
Yeah, and this guy was big. And I'm sure some of the chat people know who I'm talking about, which is not
Do you
good.
want to say who it is? Or?
Oh no, 100% no. He's making a comeback, so I don't.
Oh, okay.
Taint the waters. I'm not gonna play with him, but he used to play at the places that I used to work at. We almost did something together. Yeah, we were gonna do a tour together, and it just fell apart. But yeah, when that came out, it hurt. It hurt, especially because I knew this person, and I also knew one of the victims.
Oh, okay.
So it destroyed me, and I'm like, I don't know who to believe. And so I just kind of I'm like, you know what? I'll cancel both of you from my life. I'll I'll step back. I'll be nice, but we're not friends.
Yeah. Do you think that being a musician, because being a musician is also being an artist because you're making art, do you think that you constantly have a struggle with that growing up like from when you were in your earlier band days to where you're trying to transition to now, that there's also the worry of like who you are as a person? Like you always like, I feel like being an artist, it's like a double-edged sword because you're putting your art to the world for people to judge, and then you also are making it for yourself. So it's like, how do you like how does that work for you?
Okay, this is where the labels come in. I no longer want to work with a label ever. You know, it sucks because it will help a lot. It will help radio players.
For people that are watching that don't know anything about labels, or people that are listening, kind of before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, what is really the process and point of a label?
So the point of a label is, for them, they're pretty much advertisers. You have your manager who'll get you the gigs and stuff, and the label will actually be your bank. They throw you the money for studio time, throw you the money for your concerts if you need something great. The only thing that you really take care of yourself is music videos. But even then, you can't bug your label to help you out. Your label also, like, they sprinkle you with gifts. They will get you a PS5. They'll get you these things, and they'll kind of try to help you also how to market. So there's like a bunch of things going on. You have a bunch of people to your disposal. You have your accountants. You have your whatever. They're all there. They're part of that label. But mainly it's advertisement. That's really like their push, because they're trying to sell your albums and stuff and make money off of you, out of your art, while also paying you as an employee, which doesn't happen. Obviously, we know that they don't pay much.
Yeah.
But so that's what happened in Artifact. It's that the label gave them so much money to make these things, and then finally when they want to get out of their label, they're like, oh, well, you owe us for all these things that we paid. All
these things, yeah. Because it's like you sign on that dotted line, you sign your life away, basically.
Yeah, so like I'm trying so hard right now to get my check mark anywhere, like Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. A label will do that automatically. Yeah. They already know their people. They have their people on Instagram, whatever. So with a label, that'll be easy. And, you know, everyone cares about that check mark. It matters. Yeah. While now being completely independent and what I state, underground. I want to be underground forever because I want a small community. I don't have to pay anybody back other than myself. I don't need to, I don't have deadlines, which is a problem. I need to set my own deadlines. I'm my own boss. But also, I don't have to do something I don't want to do. So going back to your question is that, honestly, yes, I care what people would say about my art. I hope they like it, but I'm going to keep doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, so I kind of accepted that there's no money in my music. If money comes, awesome, you know? Yeah. But I'm just going to be like, I'm releasing things that I like. I'm throwing this out in the world.
You're doing it for the passion of it.
I'm doing it for the art for art's sake.
Yeah. So I feel like when you started, you know, you were into trumpet and you were in the band in high school and stuff. How is your evolution of what art really means to you in that sense? Like, if it's not for the money and, you know, you started as like not even really knowing how to sing or do anything, how was that evolution of like what art and what music even meant to you?
Funny. So when I did the trumpet thing, I just did it for fun. It was really just to party it up as a kid, as a 15-year-old. When that band happened, when I became the lead singer of the band, I was terrible. I was like, this is my band. You know, I am the band. So I was one of those, like, two above your, calm down, you know, that kind of guy. Yeah. But I had a purpose. I was like, no. We're going to save the animals. I was very like, you can't even trust PETA. We need to save the animals, like, for real. We need to stop wearing leather. We need to stop whatever. Like, I was too political. That's what I was. I was 100%. So I had a purpose there. And then when I stopped and just making my own weird music, now I'm in a place where it's just about the art. It truly is. I'm trying to, a painting is supposed to start a conversation and make you feel something. And that's what my music is now. My music is just now a painting. It's feel this emotions. It's like, you know, you heard that song that makes you go like, oh, wow, I felt that.
It hits you in the heartstrings.
Yeah, that's what my music is.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And so I know that you do, you're kind of experimenting with a lot of different, like, you know, you have your scene of music, but then off camera, we're talking about you're starting to do some other kind of different genres of music. Do you want to talk about your kind of evolution in experimenting? Okay, so that happened when I started, I wanted to just not focus on typical goth. So when I started doing reviews, so I kind of stumbled upon this guy named Goth. Okay. And I started listening to that, and I was like, oh, why does goth trap or goth rap exist? This is weird. So I'm listening to it more just to get the feel of, like, what is he doing? What is this stuff? Yeah. Then I learned more about it, and I'm like, this guy started in a hardcore band. And you could start hearing that trickle into his music. And sadly, and you people, you're not supposed to know this, sadly, I just started rapping. I just started rapping at one point, and with a dark, harsh beats. Oh, another person, Corpse. Okay. Yeah, have you heard Corpse music? I don't know if you know. Corpse. I feel like I have heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so Corpse he's a YouTuber and he just released songs out of nowhere because he has this distinct voice. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, I love this. And he's rapping. So now I just somehow just started doing gothic rap stuff on the side, hidden, keeping it a secret, even from Instagram. So like
The cat's out of the bag.
well, they still don't know what it is. It's very obvious too. It's in your face. Like I'm gonna say it. The title of that project is called Diof. And
Okay.
so it's void backwards. It's very
I
easy
was
to
gonna say, wait, yeah, that's the same.
so I wanted people to kind of know, like in the bio, it says, will not deny, will not, I forgot, will not, I don't even know, I forgot the term, but I won't confirm their suspicions or deny.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's happening.
Cool. Do you feel like, obviously COVID's a terrible thing, you know, for everyone over the world got affected some way or another. Do you think though that for you and your music and to be able to experiment with different types of like, you know, I can just be my gothic music or I can just experiment with gothic rap now. Do you think that COVID kind of allowed that more artistic expression to happen?
I'm going to say the worst thing ever. 2020 was my year.
Okay.
2020 was my year. And then 2021, it's like the work I'm doing. So 2020 was all about me finding myself and what I want to do. Like I'm going back to my stuff because all I did was relationships. As I started my YouTube channel, it was just me talking about my relationships, my feelings.
Okay.
Then later on, like around December, I kind of got out of my tears every day kind of thing. And I was like, okay, so 2021, my goal is to get out of debt. My goal is to, you know, because when I lost my job and stuff, it was a whole mess.
Yeah.
And there's a point I had 2 apartments because I had to leave one, but the contract wasn't over, and it was a weird.
Oh, okay.
So I had to get myself out of debt, which I did finally, like a couple of days ago.
Oh, congrats. That's awesome.
Thank you. It was
That's a big deal, dude. Some people, I mean, the amount of student debt I have is insane. Like, it's crazy.
That's intense. Yeah, student debt. Oh, that lasts you forever.
Forever.
So yeah. So now I'm just like focusing on me, and I'm remaining single completely, just trying to be just all about my art. And so all I do is work. I work 12-hour days now.
Okay. What do you do now?
Uh, I'm gonna say it. Screw it. I work at UPS,
Nice.
so I'm always there. It's about 6 days a week. Almost every day is like 12 hours. I'm like either commuting or there. You know.
Yeah.
So when I get home,
Hey, you got to work the real job to fund the art.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping for next year too. Is hopefully I could lessen my hours by like probably half.
Okay.
That's the goal. It's either that because I still want to have like my foot in a real job just in case.
Yeah.
But that's why right now I'm trying to become like Insta famous and kind of get up there in all these places on these platforms, just so I could kind of live off of this and keep making this. I want to review more. I want to make more music, finish my books, kind of focus on my art, make that my full-time job.
Yeah.
But still be able to live in California. You know,
Yeah, California is expensive for anyone who doesn't know. You need to be smart about it. Like, yeah, California is so expensive. So the fact that you're doing it smartly, like, okay, I do need the real job to then I still am passionate. I'm not giving up on this. I just have to kind of be smart. I got myself out of debt, so I'm already a step above the rest. So it's really awesome. You kind of mentioned that, like, you mentioned relationships and that you started your YouTube channel, which for anyone that doesn't know, you do have your YouTube channel as well.
Yeah. Now I'm just reviewing stuff.
Yeah. But we can talk about how you like started that. But I feel like as a musician and just I'm a lover of music, like I was the girl who like didn't have any talent wise. I mean, I tried to play bass guitar. I learned and I could like play songs like Smoke on the Water, which is the easiest song to play on the bass. And I learned some like Cobra Starship songs and I learned like Purple Haze, but I still like wasn't musically talented. It like wasn't gonna happen for me. But going to concerts and going to shows and listening to music, like that's my life. Like most of my tattoos are music inspired. So for someone who knows music and like the fan wise, and then also because you've mentioned relationships and stuff, what inspires you to write music? Like, do you have to pull it out from a dark time in your life? Can it just happen on the end? Like, I always wonder, like, what inspires the artist?
Yeah, I'm kind of cliche there. I had a really troubled early life. I I didn't mention, but that time in high school when I had that band, I lived in the streets for 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I had a very troubled beginning. Like there was abuse in all sorts when I was young. So that stuff, sadly, still with me. You know, I learned how to like deal with every day, but sadly and good. I'm not saying that I'm happy it happened, but those emotions are easy to tap into. I learned how to put it in a box and just leave it there and then bring it out when I want to. And it doesn't hurt me in the way that it used to hurt me. Now it's a tool. Now I'm using all these things as like these paint brushes or paints that I want to use. And so that's a problem with Love Circus too, is that Love Circus, the book, it's so dark. It is super dark. It is a true Gothic novel. And I had to take a break. Like I had to take a break because
it's on your mental state.
Yeah, so I've been writing it for 10 years, and it's tough. So I ended up like making a comedy, which is very interesting. It's a dark comedy, of course, but it was a lot more fun. And yeah, so I think that's what I'm doing with the rap stuff too. Is that because Alexander Void, the music is dark and low, and my rap stuff, it's actually a joke album that I'm making.
Okay.
And, yeah, but sadly, I started making real music too because I started getting into it. So
So the joke's on you, really.
Yeah, it's like it. That's life.
I think I really appreciate you saying that, because not that maybe I wasn't ever on the street wise, but I did deal with dark times, and I do feel like, it never quite leaves you, but it like makes you who you are. Like if I didn't go through all that shit, I wouldn't be who I am now. So I think that is very awesome to be open about. Like you had dealt with hard times, and however long it went on, but to now be able to just use it as a tool for yourself, and like that's the way you healed, is really awesome.
And you're right 100% that it's like it kind of did make me. I think if I didn't go through this, I wouldn't learn what I learned, and now that I'm actually creating these things, I'm very happy that I'm creating these things. So it's in a sense a good thing, I guess, that it happened. It's weird to say.
Yeah, it's like a catch-22, because you're like for me, I'm like, I really don't want to get beat up when I was a young girl and called fat and ugly, and now I'm dealing with body dysmorphia as I'm older, and my dad was a dick, but I'm like, I guess I'm a good person now. Like it's a weird struggle.
It is, and that kind of, it sticks with you, like you said, it sticks with you, and it's there, and I'm happy I could utilize it. Like you said, I could utilize it and create. And it keeps me going, and I'm happy. The only problem that I have with it is that I am afraid to date now. Like,
okay, because you've had some bad relationships.
Yeah, I've been broken so much that now I'm just kind of dating my work, which I think is a good thing for now.
Yeah.
So I think that I think eventually I'll find love and stuff, but it's like right now, like my favorite person is my ex-girlfriend, which is really weird.
Because you can write about her.
It's not the one who broke me. That was 2 girlfriends ago. Okay. But my literal last girlfriend, like she's one of my favorite people in the world, and
that's cool.
I talk to her like every day. Like we're like best friends.
Oh, so you like formed a companionship more so.
Yeah, and she pushes me. She pushes me for this stuff, and I think that's what I need too, because I'm like getting lazy. I'm like, I'm gonna go to sleep. She's like, oh, you're gonna record a video? I'm like, I guess I should. It's like, how's that new song coming along? And I'm like, it's good. She's like, I want to hear it.
So she like pushes you. That's cool. I think for me, I was always kind of like a hopeless romantic Disney girl, and I would get hurt all the time, and like people sucked, and you go through your trials, tribulations. But I think that you can't really lose the essence of like, you want to focus on yourself. If you're not like, if you go through a bad time, you need that like healing process. But I think that you should always stay open, because you don't know, like you might have someone like your ex who like pushes you, and maybe you would have never come into contact with someone like that if you were closed off, I feel like, but also as a musician, you kind of like protect yourself, because that's like you're putting so much out in the world, but it's like that is kind of like a catch-22 as well.
Yeah, and another thing that talking about cancel culture and stuff, these people who got canceled, that's another scary thing. Like I'm lucky that I'm not there yet. I'm not up there yet, so I could still form these relationships with people before I'm big, if I do make it big. Those people, like Marilyn Manson and the person I was talking about, they're already big. So I think it's harder to date them. So so I'm happy I'm like forming these connections.
Yeah.
Because
Because you want to form the truer connections now, because when you do get big, because especially with someone like you who has the aspirations, you're putting in the work, you're on all these different forums, you already have a good cult following to you that, yeah, like it'll inevitably happen, you know, if you still keep that work and the drive. But you're right, like you do want that base of culture that is like that knows you and knows who you really are.
yeah, like I do respond
Yeah.
to every Instagram DM. Like I'm still
Yeah.
there. Every YouTube comment. Like so.
How was it when, or what was the first time you really felt like people were like really being susceptible to who you were and like to what your music was, and like how is that like getting a fan base? What is that experience like?
It was actually weird because, of course, we all like start a YouTube channel, put the first video, and then you're like looking at those numbers, like, oh, 3 people saw this, and then video 3, oh, someone liked it. Oh,
Yeah.
there's comments. Let me respond to these comments. So it's exactly like that. So luckily, my Alexander Voigt account on Instagram, I started that with my clothing line. So I cheated completely. So I had my clothing line, so I just posted mainly my clothing. I never really posted myself. And so once I killed the clothing line, I kind of just left it there. So I had a good couple of tens of thousands of followers, and I just left it there just alone. So when I came back to Instagram, like I lost tons of followers because there's nothing being posted. Then I deleted everything, and I kind of just started over, having those remaining followers, which is unfair. And I started posting music stuff.
Okay.
And people like started liking it, and then I started losing a lot of followers, started gaining other followers. It just became weird. And
Yeah,
from there,
a transition period.
yeah. So it's nice that I already had a base, because if I started with 0 and I'm just a musician started with 0, which I'm trying to do with that other account, I'm trying to see like who would really come.
Yeah.
So if I start with 0, I'm nothing and nobody. It's harder to get an audience. But if you already have like thousands of followers, I think that's where people buy followers. You know, I think
Yeah.
you look big. You know, that check mark I was talking about. To look
Yeah.
big,
But it's so obvious now because I feel like those people that buy the followers, they don't compensate with the comments and like the actual reception to what they're posting. So what's the point of it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing that also it was tough for me is that especially me looking more like Marilyn Manson, especially when I had my eyeliner on, I was kind of like the pinnacle of goth boy. People liked my face, and for some reason it bothered me. I was like, no, 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 like my stuff, buy my stuff. They're like, yeah, more of your face. Like, no, 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 I'm gonna delete all my face pictures. There you go.
Like this is just, it doesn't matter what I look like. I want you to like what I'm trying to put out.
Mm-hmm. Like my art. My art's important, not me. Whatever. So yeah, so I did that, and yeah, so that's how that happened. And then from there, I started getting DMs. And at first, I was like, I'm not gonna DM these people. I don't want to talk. Who are these people?
Yeah.
Then finally, I just started accepting it. I was like, okay, you know what? Okay, this person's cool. Let me not be flirty. Let me make sure that to cut it off if they start being flirty or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I started just talking to everyone. And then when I started doing my original YouTube channel, which is the me talk about my feelings, people were relating. They were like, oh, I understand. I've been there too. And they keep going. And these people, they're still there. Like I noticed right now, even on the Instagram Live, I did notice those same people.
Yeah.
So I do have these people who know me.
Yeah, I think that really is what the world is craving, especially nowadays, because people want they want people that are authentic. And so I feel like, and that's probably also why some people like to see your face, because they want to see what's behind the brand. So like, yes, your music is like your brand. That's what you're promoting. That's like what you're doing, your passion, but you are creating it. So I think there's that personal level where like followers want to know like who you are. And so I think that is kind of like a good and a bad thing, because yeah, you don't want them to just want you like your like what I look like. You want the underneath you, but I think that's cool because they're gonna follow you because they're like, oh, I'm getting to know this person, like, oh, this person's really cool, I'm learning more about them. Because really the world is craving genuine people, because you have like the Kardashians who are so fake and no one, they're like, we're over that, like, you know, TV is like a train wreck and you want to watch it when you're eating dinner because you don't have to pay attention. But that's not really, I can't relate to that. So like, I'm going to relate to this guy who's telling me his real experience in a relationship because that is what I've been through. Like, I think that's so rad that you do that.
Yeah, it's funny because on the YouTube thing, they also like a lot of comments that I got. even from the bands that I reviewed, like Matt Black, there was a song I didn't like, and I gave it a rating of 5 out of 10, which is really bad, you know. And then they're like, I get it, you don't like the song, but thank you for being honest. Love the review. You know, it was just genuine stuff, and like a lot of people did agree, and like it was stuff like that. Like I try hard not to hate on bands or somebody's art because you try so hard.
Yeah.
But I do, my branding for sure is honesty. Like I kind of always had that.
Yeah.
Even though it's brutal. Yeah.
But I think that's awesome because yeah, like you're right. Like when I watch YouTube videos, like I'm really into taste testing because I like love food. And so when someone tells me they eat something and all their videos it's great, I'm like, that's bullshit because you can't eat everything that's great. Like no, you're lying. So then I always gravitate to the person who's like, you know what, this is a little dry, maybe today's a rough day, but I'm gonna rate it here because I have to rate on what I'm tasting. It's kind of also like I don't know if you watch, I love him, but Barstool Sports, the pizza guy.
Okay.
Or Dave Portnoy. This is totally like probably not your thing, but there's this guy and he rates pizza places and he literally will rate them and he has a scale and it's this whole big thing. It's awesome. But he's like honest, like if the pizza comes cold, he has to rate it on it coming cold. Like you just have to rate what you're hearing, what you're eating. And I think that's cool. Like you're just honest. So people will take that and know years to come, you've always been consistent.
Yeah, and it's tough too because there's now musicians are contacting me. They're like, hey, can you rate this? Can you review this? And it sucks because I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a tough one. I warn them. I'm like, just letting you know, completely brutally honest. I understand if you hate me afterwards, but I'm gonna be completely honest. If it's good, great. And I even state from the beginning, I'm like, this is my taste. This is not my taste. I can see what they're doing, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
So like a good example is if you know Crystal Castles. So the lead singer Alice Glass, she started going solo, and I remember I didn't even review it. Like somebody asked me to review it, so I just posted on Instagram. I'm like, it's not my composition. It's fine. It's a little messy. I'm not gonna give it a rating because it's not my thing. This is the equivalent of me like rating a Katy Perry song. I can't. I'll leave it alone.
Totally not your genre.
Yeah, not my world. I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, that's cool. What really got you into doing that? Was it because you know all the work someone does to make a song? Like you mentioned composition. Like, are those so when you're rating something and when you're also making your own music, what are the things that you're constantly thinking about?
Yeah, that's actually the main thing. First is I think of the purpose. What's the purpose of the song? Are you trying to make people dance, sing along? Is this an anthem? Is this a sad song? You're supposed to just have a ballad? Are you getting ready for the club? Are you in the club? So it's like, are you workout music? You know, I try to think of that, like purpose. Or are you trying to send a message? You know, it's like, are you saying stop killing animals? You know. So first I think of purpose. What's the reason of the song? And I think that lays the basis of everything. Now I know they're just trying to be fun and dancing. They're trying to be the Avengers. They're not trying to be this deep, dark movie, Requiem for a Dream, you know? Like
oh, yeah. Dark, that's a dark movie, bro. That movie is intense.
Yeah, so that movie's trying to say something, trying to give you the story and say something. While this one, the Avengers, turn off your brain, have fun, join these things that don't exist, explosions, funny stuff, we're good. You know, so purpose. So I start with purpose. And then, so I know how to rate this. I'm not going to be always like, this is not Requiem for a Dream. Marvel is not a real movie. You know, they don't make real movies. That's just dumb. It's a movie.
Yeah.
So I start with purpose. Then from there, I start with, I go with composition. So the main thing is verse, chorus, verse. You know, you want to have a chorus always, or you're just going through this long ballad. So I think of composition. What are you doing? Is it messy? That's the hard part, is trying to keep it not messy.
What makes it messy?
It's when you change too many times to a point where it looks like you really don't know what you're doing.
Okay.
So, and this is not jazz, because jazz has its own flow. But even with jazz, they keep with the tempo.
Yeah.
But a good example is, speaking again of Alice Glass's newest song, I think it's called Nightmares. That one, it just sounds like she doesn't know where she's putting it. It's not going dum 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 dum. It kind of goes dum 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 dum. So it's like you hear this.
So it's hard to follow almost.
Yeah, it's exactly it. Like if you're reading a book and you're like, wait, who's talking? Wait, what timeline are we on?
Yeah, like the tone of the person, like the author, just changed.
Yeah, it seems like he was too drunk at this time. He's writing drunk. You know, he doesn't know what he's saying. So there's that.
interesting to think about, like, because I think that like for a listener, when I'm listening, I'm just, if it hits my whatever in my brain connects with, I'm like, this is awesome. But you're right, for a musician, I bet listening to others music is sometimes hard, and also your own music, because your brain is working in a different way, because you know the steps it takes to make a song, that you're like, wait, like this is out of whack, or wait, why is the guitar hit you? So I could see how in a musician's brain it works different too.
Yeah, it's funny because I had these friends. I have two friends that we always watch movies together. So three of us. Sometimes one of us will have a girlfriend or whatever. She'll come along. Every time we watch a movie, we stand outside and talk about it. And we're all three like super movie buffs. And she's just bored. She's like, what do you guys talk? It's a movie. And then we're here like breaking it down. It's like a soundtrack that didn't make sense here. This actor was bad and stuff like that.
See, that's funny. I actually like to do that. I like to watch a movie and then want to discuss it. Like, what did you think? Because I feel like everyone's point of view is different, and you learn. That's why I like doing this podcast, because just like I'm learning so much just from your point of view of things. Like, it's interesting.
Yeah, and you already talked to various musicians, and I'm sure all of us are different, like how we do things and what we like and how we became.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like that's cool. So then composition, and then after composition, what are you looking for?
Okay, so we go from the meaning of it. What are you trying to do? Purpose. Then is it messy? Does it flow well? Then from there, I try hard not to focus too much on lyrics, but then I look at the lyrics. I start thinking, it's like, what does this even mean? What are you even saying right now? So there's that, and then how catchy it is. Because I think catchiness matters. You want to listen to songs on repeat. You know, there's hardly anything that's like, I just want to hear the song just one time, whatever.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
and sometimes they exist. Like again, Requiem for a Dream. You don't want to watch that movie again.
Yeah, once is enough.
You're happy you saw it. Like it's interesting. I think you're happy you saw it, but
I mean, you realize that there's like underlining meanings. Like that movie, for anyone who's never seen it, or for people who have seen it, I think you'll understand. It's a movie that makes you realize the world is not what it seems. Like dark shit happens and bad shit happens, and it takes you on a tour of all these different characters and all their different lives and what happens to them and how things just go too far. It kind of makes you realize like there's a limit where you're like, whoa, like this is too far.
and the great thing about that one too is that even the innocents are not free from this. Like things
Like,
just
yeah,
happen.
like the mom, like the
Mhm.
mom and her. Yeah, it's just it's a movie that makes you think, and it pushes you to the extreme of that, because it's like there's some, intense parts in that movie. But I would say it's a good movie because it's like the acting is crazy, like really good.
I'm scared of that with Love Circuits. Like when I finish this book, I'm scared of how many people will like be like, "Wow, I do not want to read that again," or "I do want to read that again." Especially being a mystery. Like once you solve a mystery, do we care again? Once we saw Sixth Sense, do we care again?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I'm
I
kind of
think
curious.
though that the point of the book is I mean, for me, I do like to read, and I could say like I love reading, and there's maybe a couple books I'll read again, but I just like the art of reading a new book. So I think that for music, I could see that point of view. Music, I want to listen to that song like 10 times, 100 times, whatever. But I don't think you should think of it I mean, this is my opinion, in the same way as a book, because a book like Heroin Diaries from Nikki Sixx is an amazing book. I love Motley Crue. That book was like amazing to read. It was like a moment in history, but I don't really have to read it again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that it will always hold its value just
Mhm.
once. Maybe I'll read it again if like I don't have a new book and I want to read it again. But I think like books are a little different, because you read it once and you understand like, whoa, that's a fucking good book. But
Yeah, that's a good point.
a book takes, it's going to take more time to go through. Not everyone like a music you can just constantly have on, a movie you watch and then maybe you watch it with another group of friends, but a book you take that the solitude of the moment you read it the first time, the second time will never come to the first time.
Of course, yeah. But I guess I just think it more like people are still reading Twilight over and over again.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I read 50 Shades of Grey twice.
There's that, or Harry Potter. You know, people are still
Yeah.
reading these.
Yeah, I guess everyone is different, because if you're super like some people don't like music and they only like books, so then those are the people that will read it again. But I think if you're doing a mystery, that there is still the like what's gonna, because you think Harry Potter, what happens, the movies, they're out, but there's still the joy of like, oh, I'm gonna read it again. So I think in a book there's still that there's always going to be that like, wait, where is this mystery going? I forgot because it's been like a couple months or a year since I've read it last.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope this book actually does become a movie. Um, I have I have another book that's done,
Okay.
but I haven't released it because I want to release this book first.
Okay.
Yeah, which sucks, but I have a plan. And this book that's done, I think, will be that masterpiece book. Like, I think that will like kind of define me. Just like in albums, your second album kind of defines the band.
The sophomore slump or the sophomore great.
Yeah, exactly. It really defines you. So I think that book will kind of be that one. I don't know. I don't want to talk about too much about that one, but Love Circus is the one I'm focusing on, and that's what I'm going to sell out for sure. That one I'm going to try to get a publisher and try to get that out there. So hopefully.
You mean sell out because for your music, you're like, I'm never going to join a label, but for the book world, you want that backing for it.
Yeah, people who don't see it as a bad thing or a bad word, I call it sell out just because I think it's funny, but it's called making money. So it's like I'm going to actually try to make money.
I think that's another good thing that maybe if people don't know you, and I mean, I do know you because I worked with you, but you do have, I think this kind of goes with your, like the music and that world you're in, and also kind of the new world you're kind of experimenting with of like comedy or dark comedy and rap, is you kind of do have this humor and you're very satire-y. Like you do make these jokes and you're like, oh wait, like it's like saying someone's like a sellout is like, you would think that's like a terrible thing, but for you, it's like a comedic thing because you're like, oh, like it's funny. So there is that like satire vibe to you as well, which I think is really cool because it's like that's really rare these days.
Yeah, hence the pretentious goth.
Or rare when people can understand it.
Yeah, hence the term pretentious goth. Like I make fun of. Oh, I even made a song about goth, and there's like a line that's like, it's like, I went to the tower that's a giant wall of shirts, and where's Marilyn Manson? It used to be where Justin Bieber is now. And I was like, or where's Cradle of Filth? It used to be behind the Harry Potter wands. Like I'm like making jokes. Like I poke at myself.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I think that's cool because it kind of keeps you humble in that sense. Like you're still gonna always remember, like, wait, I came from the streets. Like even though I'm getting bigger and I have all these really high aspirations, it kind of keeps you humble. Like, yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, I want to keep that forever. I think a lot of people do lose that. It kind of becomes so big that they lose it. And I want to make sure I know that I'm human. I'm a person. People have feelings. I have feelings. I want to make sure we know that. My only problem is my mouth. It's like when I make jokes, I'm like, okay, is that too far? Okay, is that not funny? If I'm like, oh yeah, you look more emo than goth. You know, it's like, would that offend someone? So for me, I'm like, yeah, I'm more on the emo side. Or I'm like, I would say like, I just listen to Radiohead. Let me put my hair in front of my face. Like I would just make jokes like that. And some people, it's like, you're not even emo. I was like, it's a joke.
Yeah, like I guess it's like some people will understand it and some people won't, but like just because I know you, I feel like I just know you have that satirical humor, so it's like it's fun. It's like goes with your personality. It just makes you who you are too.
And I think that's another thing about my small community that I love, because all these people do see those things. I make tons of little jokes, like and my Instagram stories. I mean, dumb little jokes. Yeah. So people know, which I love.
Yeah, that's cool. What do you think was the moment, like, because you said you like, you had tours planned with people and you toured and you've done it, you had the whole underground scene. What do you think was the moment where you're like, you know what? I think I'm actually a musician now. Like seems to be going well. Like, did you have that moment? Do you remember it? Or did it just kind of just happen naturally?
I was denying it. I was denying it for so long. I'm like, no, I'm an author. I'm not a musician. I think last year I finally came out as a musician because I think I even posted on Instagram. Like, okay, I'll stop denying it. And then I remember I put it in my bio too. I was like, author. I put it first. Author, musician, painter, photographer. I went on through my list of little things that I do. But for a long time I was denying it because I keep, like, again, I want to be an author, but my books are not out. I put out so much music. I've done so much music stuff, but never written a book. And even one writing that I made that ended up somewhere, I forgot where even. It's like I don't even think it was a newspaper. I think it was like a local paper. And I was 13. And that's it. It was a small poem that I made. And that's the only thing that got published. And I can't even find it. And now I'm an author. Oh, what have you released? Nothing. Music, you released 2 EPs. There's music over here. Like you have covers, you have a bunch of stuff. you played in bands. I remember I played with you. You know, it's like you're a musician. So a long time I was like, no, no, no. And then finally I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna show. And this just happened like the end of last year.
Oh wow. Wouldn't you say though, being so obviously you do have the pride of like you're writing these books, so you do feel the sense of like, okay, I'm an author because I know I'm going to publish them. It's just getting the kinks worked out. But don't you think that being a musician is also like being an author because you're writing your songs and so your talents go hand in hand.
Yeah, I'm completely cheating because I also write poetry and I write short stories. So I'm
Okay.
releasing a book, well, two books, one called Pillars, one called Ruins, and it's my lyrics as well as my poems as well as my short stories.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's been planned for a while, but again, Love Circus has to come first,
Yeah.
and yeah, so
Do you think though that you're putting too much pressure on yourself and then that's why you feel this like intensity? Like maybe you just need to like chill and be like, wait, I can just release the short stories and then I do have something published and then it'll just help me with Circus.
well, one good thing that I'm thinking of that I don't know if people have done this before. I'm assuming it happened, but I'm gonna look for an actual publisher, a manager, and a publisher for my books. And it'll be nice for me to have three books already done. I'll be like, okay, well, I want to publish this book, which is as a first Love Circus. I'm like,
Mm.
oh wow, this is good, this is bad, we need to edit this or whatever, whatever happens. And then they're like, okay, so when's your next book coming out? And I'm like,
Oh, and you
next
already
year.
have it.
It's already in the background. Like that's one big thing that I remember I learned strangely from Kanye West. He stated, I will never I should never announce something unless I'm done with it.
Okay.
He doesn't follow his own rules, but it's like that. Like now I'm announcing it. March 19th, the first
Ooh,
Alexander Voigt album is coming out.
what?
Rad Chat exclusive here.
Chat exclusive. You hearing that, guys?
So March 19th is the
Woo!
release of
I'm
Alexander
so
Voigt.
flattered. You want to announce it on Red Chat, little old Red Chat.
Well, thank you for having me. So
Of
there's that.
course, dude. Of course. Like you're so interesting. Just like the whole scene, your music, your writing, and too, like you mentioned, you do photography, you do your short stories, you even like just you as a person, like you could just come to you and have a conversation and you can talk about relationships, you can give advice, and it's like it's so dope. So I'm so flattered.
But one thing we both have is we both talk a lot. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah. We like to talk.
Yeah, we talk, and it's interesting because we also appreciate what we're saying, and you can see that. I think you see genuine
Yeah,
likeness.
I think that the art of conversation is an art because not everyone listens properly and not everyone speaks properly. Like I had to learn that. I used to be like, I want to like interject because I have a thought that pops in my head and it like, I got to get it out of my brain. But then as I'm doing the podcast, you realize like there's an art to just listening and waiting because you want them to finish their train of thought too. And it's like, more meaningful when you connect with someone on this level, which I think is cool that podcasts are coming out because you learn so much by hearing and talking to someone and like the back and forth of how a conversation works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So going back to the album thing, I finished this album. It's been sitting there for a while, and I've just been scared of releasing it, and I changed my vocal style. Now I'm actually going to sing, which I'm scared of.
Hey, that's rad.
I'm scared. I went from screaming, went to whispering, and now I actually do have a singing voice, which I hope is good. We'll find out. We'll find out. But
That's awesome. So March 19th.
Mhm.
And is it like an EP, a whole album? How many songs are on it?
Okay, so it is a full album. It is going to be 12 tracks, which doesn't count. It counts as 10 tracks as an intro and outro.
Oh, okay. That's really popular these days.
Yeah, I'm trying that out. I'm seeing if it works. And yeah, so the first album, I feel like very ready for it. I feel like it's good. It's good to go.
Oh, that's cool. Why do you think for some other projects you've worked on, you don't feel like as ready? They're you still have to work on them. Why is this album like you feel confident and ready about? Of course, you're always scared, right? Because it's like you're putting art into the world and people are gonna judge it, and it's like you're doing something different with your vocals. But of course, there's a fear. But why do you think this one you're ready for?
That's a funny one, behind the scenes stuff. Because these are 10 songs that I'm like in love with. When I have 50 songs I'm in love with. So because I have so many songs, I know that this is the one. This is the playlist. This is the group of songs. It sets the feeling that I want to feel, the emotions, the roller coaster that I want to give you. So I think that's why. So I finally compiled enough. Like I kept going. I went to like 30 songs. I'm like, I don't know. And then once I finished like the 50 mark, I was thinking 100, but I was like, I'm going to say.
That's a lot.
So once I did that, it's the same thing at the books. If I have a trilogy, I'm releasing only one so far. I'm ready for the next.
That's actually really smart. And I never thought of it like that because you're right. Like, there's not the pressure of what's next when you already have so much of a bank to choose from. That actually is really, really smart because then, as a, artist, you can't pressure yourself to make it or form it or write it. You have to just feel it, I think, is a good assumption to make. And so when you have so much in the bank, you're more comfortable, whereas like you're right, like if the book dealer is like, where's the next book, you're on a timeline, you're like, oh, I'm good, I'm be fine. And so you're right, because like you mentioned, you're not great with deadlines. so I think that's really smart because you know yourself well enough to be like, let me make sure I'm comfortable. And that's actually a very valid tip for anyone that's listening. Like, you want to make sure you're in a good position.
Mm-hmm. There's a double-edged sword too, because I remember when I was doing YouTube, I was like, I'm going to post every Monday. That was my big thing. It's every Monday. Then I was like, I'm going to post Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then I recorded tons of videos. I recorded probably like 15 videos. And then in time, they kind of didn't age well. Mm. So it's a double-edged sword because I'll look at it again. I'm like, I just said it's almost 2021. We're 2 months in. I can't release that video.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, time does go fast. So you're right. You're fighting with time and against time.
Yeah. Luckily, music kind of just flows anywhere. But because I do have a plan of how my album's going to be, there is a certain like movement. It's a growth. It's really a growth because Alexander Void, I want it to be a 3 albums, a 3-part series, and then I think after that I'm just going to call myself Void only. Okay. It's either I do that or continue Alexander Void. I really don't know. But so far the plan is 3 parts.
Yeah. How do you come up with your planning, and like how, like, do you have like a method? Do you write notes, or do you like scale it out on like a huge project? How do you really organize the thought process of like, this is my plan of what I'm doing with the books, this is my plan of the music, this is my, like, kind of like a J.K. Rowling, like we mentioned her in Harry Potter, that she planned this whole universe, and it's kind of in a sense in, not universe, but your universe of the book world and the music world. So how do you organize it? Do you sketch it? Do you plan, like, what is your process?
Yeah, funny. So the music came from the books. So the book, how I did that was, first I wrote like this really skeleton type of just bones of a story that I want to tell. I'm like, this is a story. It's about a guy trying to find love. And then from there, I'm going to be like, these are the conflicts that I want him to go through because it kind of reminds me of me, but also, just fiction. It's a fiction book. So I did that. So I had the skeleton. And I'm like, okay, so all these characters, I don't want them to sound like me, because really what it is every single character is a emotion of mine enhanced by a lie. So it is, think of it as inside the movie. So it's the emotion. Okay, and that's all they are. They're just this emotion. So like I have a character who's all jealousy. Okay. And that's what she is. She's that clingy, jealous person, doesn't want you to leave, but wants to do whatever you want just so you could stay. But, so I have all these characters. So what I started doing is I started making a bio for all these characters.
Oh, okay.
Even stuff that I don't need. Like I started like, he was young. When this year's old, he was bitten by a dog. So he forever hates dogs. But I just made this kind of bio, this 1-page just bio for every character. And that helped me out a lot, because then when I'll put them in situations, each character will act their own way, as opposed to everyone will kind of act like me. Yeah. It's like what decision I'll make. So when I did that, I started writing the actual book itself, and I had so much story to tell that it became a trilogy. So now I have the 3 parts. And then that's how I decided with the albums. I'm like, these are the emotions I'm going to portray here, because it's a growing thing. So it's the books, the colors are going to be, the first book is black, the second book is red, and the last book is white. So we go from darkness to lightness, because it's called Love Circus, Love and Blood, and then Love, Blood, and Regret. So the last book is just kind of this ending of this is what I learned from all of this story. This is the life that I lived, and now I'm a grown up. I went from a dumb kid to like a raging, pissed off, like early 20s person, and then went from like I accepted life.
That's awesome. I really like that. It not that obviously you said it's fiction, but there is parts of you in it. So it's almost like it's kind of your arc as well. Like, obviously neo-noir is your thing and Alexander Void is like dark and like emotional but there's a light too to it. And I think that's really beautiful to put it in that way.
For sure, I am the happiest I've ever been. Like I said, 2020 is my year because I found me. Because I kind of had these rules in my life as I was growing up. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm a band. I want to be big. I want to do this and change the world. And so all my art kind of just got happier in time. I got more, that's why I started writing comedy. I started being happier. I was kind of always kind of a happy guy, a troubled, happy guy. But now, like, I still, of course, we'll have troubles with ourselves, but I do love me. I love me, but there's a lot of things I want to fix, but
yeah, I think that's the most important. Like, you have to love yourself. Like, I also went through that transition. Like, I hated myself. I almost killed myself. Like, I went through some shit. And I think when you find the place where you're like, obviously everyone has flaws. Like, there's constant things I want to work on. Like, I want to change this about myself. I wish I thought less about some things. But when you come to the really gist of like, okay, I really am happy with who I am, just minus some minor things that everyone works on, that is a beautiful place to come to, because you do realize how much growth you got to there, how like much growth it took to get to there, and how much more you see the future in that sense.
Yeah, so now this 2021 is all about taking those steps, and then hopefully 2022 I'm ready. So like 2022 is really like, okay, I'll see how my album's going. It's time for album 2. I'm gonna see if my books are done. It's time to release the stuff. The biggest thing is I want to release merch again. I loved releasing merch. Like, my merch sold out so quickly. But I had so many things to pay for. Like I said, I had 2 apartments at one point. One was a luxury apartment. So it was expensive. So now that I'm out of debt, this is a big thing. So like, I'm still fixing me. I need to get back into working now, which I don't do. So I think that next year will be that place where I'm like done overworking and now I'm just in a flow.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
Like the flow state, as Joe Rogan says. It's kind of to talk about the merch, because you did bring that up. What made you start a fashion line? What happened with the fashion line? And then you said you will eventually release merch again, so that's exciting.
Yeah. So the neo-noir was that movement. It was a neo-noir movement. It's me I wanted to collaborate a lot. I wanted to make sure I collaborate with this new band. Let me make some shirts for you. You tell me what you're looking for, and let's work on this together.
Yeah.
It's like, in a sense, me covering your song, So it's our collaboration. So that's how it started. So I started making a lot of designs. I just had a bunch of designs in mind that were super gothic. I had 2 bats, like, holding each other. I had, like, weird little typical goth stuff. I had big castles and stuff like that. So it became like a gothic brand. So I hate to say it, but like Black Craft. So that's what happened there. And then finally, I got myself into some trouble. I really just got a DUI and stuff. So I got myself into some trouble, and I had to pay that off.
That's cool you're honest about it, because some people aren't, they would be ashamed to release that to the public. But that's cool. Like, shit happens.
Well, I'm looking for my mugshot. If I could find a mugshot, I'm making sure of it.
We'll swipe it up.
I'm seriously, like, my mugshot looks cool. Like, I do look messed up, but my eyeliner was smeared.
Hey, that's totally rock and roll.
It's very old school rock and roll for sure.
Not condoning anybody to drink and drive. Please.
Yes, everyone be safe, please.
Don't do that.
So when that happened, I was like, I'm in a hole. I started talking to people. I'm like, yeah, sell all these. These are your designs now. So, it sucks. But yeah, so I got that money and I handled all that as quick as possible. And I just wanted to get out of that hole.
Yeah, but that's cool that you do still have the passion to want to still design.
Yeah. It's funny because at that time, I was even going to make clothing. Mm-hmm. I wanted to actually make a limited line of just like actual, like, I like button-up shirts, I like blazers, I like weird stuff like that. So I wanted to make a whole line of clothing, and I'm like, I'm a little too ambitious here. I need to calm down and calm it down, stick to my graphic tees. Yes. So that happened, and then when I started doing merch, I started making merch. I separated from my art. I was just gonna do my paintings and put those on shirts.
Okay.
So and then I separated from my art and I separated from my music. So I have the band merch, and that's it. So that was the two lines that I was having, and I just like drawing. I just draw all the time and paint all the time. A lot of times when I'm like writing lyrics and I don't know what else to write, I'll kind of just doodle. Just
Oh,
do
that's
little.
cool. I think just you as a person, you just have the artistic gene flowing through you because music is an art. Painting, you say you do, drawing, you said you also dabble in like you like to do photography, like writing, like you yourself are just this artistic being. So that shit's just flowing through you, man.
Yeah, I love it, but also hate it because it's like so much to do with so little time. There
Yeah.
really is that. Like I have to focus. I have to focus on one thing, finish this, then go on to the next one.
Next one, yeah. And then also, what is the process of like how do you write the song? Like, do you have to get yourself in a mental state first? Does it just come to you? What is that experience?
It's funny because usually when I write like just fun songs, a lot of times I write fun songs just for the fun of it, just to keep writing.
Yeah.
Like the other day when I was talking to my ex, I was like, I'm like, I finished my rap album, the fun one, the joke one, the one released in April 1st, if I do release it April 1st.
Another exclusive. Stay tuned.
But you have all of these exclusives.
I know. We're gonna have to just have you come back and we'll just have like an Alexander segment. What is Sundays? Well, for sure, because you've shown your parts of your arms, we will need to have you come back for tattoo stories.
Oh, I'm gonna keep going. I'm so happy to get my Manson tattoo. I almost got that.
Oh shit.
I wonder what I would have done.
Dude, yeah. So definitely have you come back for tattoo stories because I'm sure your followers, as opposed to Rat Chat followers, will love to see that because that will be intriguing. Because that is also another art form, which will be cool to pick your mind about yours. But back to the writing of your songs.
So I just literally just text her. I'm like, I should make a song making fun of Goth. And then she's like, oh, that'll be funny. 10 minutes later, bam. What do you think?
Oh, so you can just really put it on if you're in that mindset.
Yeah. So that's the first thing, like you stated.
Do you have like a setup in your home where you like have a like what is the setup for you?
It's funny because it's right here, so I can't even show you.
Okay. So it's just like the keyboard, the monitor. Okay.
Yeah, I have my stuff here. I actually have a mic here. I know I'm not using. It's a condenser mic.
Oh, nice.
Breaking everything. So yeah, so I sit down here. I try to make sure I'm not in my bed. I need to have a space to work in. Like I think that's important because I used to try to make music in bed and I'll get lazy. I started Googling stuff and I started just going in this rabbit hole of just internet shopping.
Yeah.
So
and you're like, how did I get on this person's page? Like back.
yeah, it's like, oh, why am I browsing Instagram? Who is this again? I don't know anymore. Yeah.
You get so lost on it. It's like a rabbit hole, literally.
Yeah. So I sit myself here and I tell myself to shut up and focus. So I even write here. So I do have my notebooks right here at arm's length. And I just sit down. I write on paper still.
Oh,
so,
nice. That's cool.
I get myself in this mood. I start thinking of what am I trying to portray? If I'm trying to portray something. If not, I just think of a term. I just think of like, or I think of a city. Okay, so nighttime, city. Okay, what does it feel like to be downtown LA right now in the middle of the night with no one in the streets? That's a song. Like, and I did make that song. It's called Static. But yeah, it's like I just sit down and I kind of try to have a feeling. And the lyrics just kind of flow. I'm just like
kind of like an ambiance, like almost like I feel like that's very like a meditative state almost.
Yeah. If you listen to my music, it's very slow and like that. It's very, it is all atmosphere. It is. So I like that. I like that, and that's kind of how I get myself in there. Sometimes I do have something to say. Sometimes I do state like, oh, you hurt me. You know, I don't want to feel like this again, and stuff like that. So I do make those breakup songs a lot. I hardly make love songs. I think I do have like one or two songs of like, you're perfect, you're my world, you are the stars, you know. But most of the time, I do have like the dark sadness. I do have the sadness in it. Yeah. And so I don't carry it with me throughout the day. I kind of just leave it there on the paper, which I like. It's my coping mechanism, I guess.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do you think that like to deal with all like maybe your own personal hardships and struggles, that when you get in that meditative state, it's like a release from it all?
I do feel so much better after it. So yeah, it does help me. And the problem though is that I hardly have that time. So like I'm always working. So when I do get here, I'll try to, and I'm like, oh, I'm too sleepy. I'm gonna go because I also don't want to force it. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
just force myself. And I think
Because
that's
there also
what.
you have to make sure you're in the right mindset in just general. Like make sure you take care of your own body first and then yeah, your
Yeah.
mind.
A funny thing is that, like I told you, I wrote 50 songs. These 50 songs, I'm happy with it done. You should think of the 200 or 300 songs that I threw away.
Yeah, that's crazy. Just 50 seems so much to me. And I'm like, holy shit, is that really how much musicians just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks?
Yeah, it does suck. I deleted so many things. Sometimes you try to salvage it. Sometimes you're like, no, this sounds good. So let me try to use this somewhere. And it just falls apart because you're not
Yeah.
there. Like that was somewhere else. That's another piece of a different puzzle. And you're trying to make that fit in this one. So that sucks too because sometimes you just find that right sound and it's lost. Same with lyrics. Like sometimes you have those lyrics and you're like, oh, it doesn't fit here.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's just so crazy how just full circle I think your creative endeavors are like writing the music and the albums as like writing the trilogy of your books and even too just poems and stuff like you really get in that meditative state and sometimes it'll come to you, sometimes it won't and you're just writing so much. Do you ever feel like it's too much sometimes and you're like I need to take a step back from writing or do you not ever feel like that?
Luckily, not writing. Like writing has always been the one that I always jump to, but a lot of times I don't feel it. That's the hard one to like sit myself down because I'm kind of like, let's go. I gotta go do something. I gotta go to work. I gotta blah blah. Let me go. Today is my only day off. Let me go buy some groceries. Go blah. So I'm always like on the go. So it's really hard for me to just calm down, sit down.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest one. So writing, I'm good with because a lot of times also when I'm just writing just for fun, it's just poems. I just kind of just write this whole feeling, just leave it there. It's done. It's part of the poem. When I'm writing my book, though, I have to be in this feel, I have to be in this place. Now, when it comes to making videos, it's so hard for me. Making YouTube videos, it only takes me like half an hour. I do minimal editing. So it takes me half an hour. Making music, it's a whole process. Those are like the hardest for me to just sit down and get in there and start going because I'll just stop. I'll be here for like 10 minutes and I'm like, okay, I'm done. And then there's times that I'm here for 4 hours and I'm like, okay, I've been doing this too long. Let me get out.
Yeah. So you just kind of gauge it as how you're feeling that day.
Yeah, that's important because again, I don't want to force it. I don't want to force any of my stuff. And because I remember I did try that and it was trash. It's complete crap.
Yeah, that's cool that you can be honest about it. Like, you know what, I have made some trash.
I have made some trash. Like even my rap, I think it's funny. Like it's crap. Like, a lot of lyrics are repetition, but I've made some crap.
But I think the cool thing about like, so you know, the rap is so different from the genre you would identify with, but it's interesting because two things. One, I think it helped me, my assumption is it like re-inspires someone because they're doing something so out of the box. And two, I think a lot of bands, for instance, the first one that comes to my head is just Bring Me the Horizon. They have really experimented with so many different sounds and instruments in their music and tones and it's still good. So I think that it's going to be exciting to hear because like you're already doing so good at your genre and your Alexander Voigt, like this is who your style, to then kind of creep out of the style will be super interesting because I think that's so accepting nowadays. Like you don't have to just stay in a box.
Yeah, that's something I actually loved. Like Bring Me the Horizon, they're a completely different band now than they were before. And
you were OG Bring Me the Horizon, like we were talking about OGs. The scream, it was all screamo, just really screamo.
Yeah, and then listen to them now.
I don't even know how to define them now. I just say alternative rock.
Right? Because they're like a lot of bands are getting there too. They're like genreless. Like there's no real genre.
Yeah.
So yeah. But what I do love is you still feel the band somehow. You can still feel
it's still Bring Me. Like there's still that essence of Ollie and the old school like because he'll throw it in there sometimes and you're like, oh, there is okay, I see what he's doing there. So it'll be interesting to hear how you do your style in there.
Oh, you'll hear it because in my rapping, I am rapping. There's some points I scream, so you'll hear it like, oh, okay, there's some Alexander Voigt he threw in there.
Yeah, see that's cool. See, that's what is exciting as the listener because when someone puts out a new album, you are waiting for that. Like, oh, okay, I'm getting ready. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I love that because also the reason why I'm happy to release 2 projects this year is because a lot of times when we listen to something, we're like, okay, what's next? Where's the next one? And like that sucks because you should feel that album and listen to that album.
That's true. That is true. That's why I feel like lately, I guess maybe when Spotify really became big,
Oh yeah.
singles were becoming, I mean, singles have always been big, but like for instance, the Used release, like because we were talking about them earlier, and I personally love them. They released their new album, but they released singles like really early on, like before the album was even out. So you had it downloaded on Spotify and you've been listening to it. Then they dropped the album like a couple, like they dropped one song 1 month. Then you're like, wait, and then maybe 2 months later they drop the next, and so you're like, it kind of builds the anticipation. Then you're like, okay, here's the album. Because I feel like, I don't know, growing up, you would just go and buy the CD and you just listen to the whole CD. And now it's like, oh, you can just listen to this one real quick.
Yeah, funny. I had a conversation about that just like last week. Was about somebody was telling me how to market my band, my music. He's like, release a single, keep it there for 3 months. Then release another single, keep it there for 3 months. I'm like, that's a long time. And he's like, yeah, because back in my day, in his day, he's like, we will buy records and just listen to the whole record. Now nobody does that. They're jumping around. So singles are a big thing. Like you get to feel that. And he said, and those singles, they're gonna learn so much because they're listening to it because they're like, I want to hear Alexander Voigt today. So they listen to that single a few times. Then when the album comes out, that's their song. They already know it.
Yeah, yep.
It's like, that's my jam. What is it?
Really true. And it's like that familiarity. So they're like, they already feel like they know the whole album because they know that one song. That's true. Yeah, that's smart marketing. Do you feel like you've had to learn a lot of marketing strategies over the years?
Now that I'm like for sure trying to be completely alone and completely solo, yeah, I'm like looking up a bunch of people, what they're doing. Like a lot of bands these days are doing a single a month. And it's great because I listened to a podcast with one of them. His name is Daniel Graves. He's in the band State of Perfection, and he did that for his Patreon. He's releasing a single every month this year. So that's 12 singles this year. And he talked about how hard it is. He's like, I know I'm finishing this one, on to the next one. And that's tough. Like for me, it took me probably like 2 years to finish this album. Like I'm just constantly like, I can't stay in 1 month, make a song and say, this is great. Like I'm constantly picking at it, rechanging it, come back to it later. So I don't know how he can do it. Well, he's been doing it for 20 years. So I've been in music for so long, but I haven't been in this.
You're getting up there. You're definitely got like what, over 10 years experience?
Yeah, but he has been in that band. So I think my project, Alexander Voigt, I think that's why it's different. Because I'm not doing the punk thing. And he's been in that same band for so long. So yeah, so I wonder if that's the difference. I'm kind of scared, to be honest.
It's just going to be so exciting too, though. Like, you're going to release it. So we obviously know that March 19th, your album will be released. April 1st, we might get the rap comedy album. And then from there, we know eventually your books will be coming. You'll obviously keep us up to date. Rad Chat will promote everything you put out. Definitely have to have you come back for Tattoo Stories. Definitely have to have you come back just in general for stories and when you release your books and stuff, because I feel like you just have like, I know it's your only day off, so I don't want to take up so much of your time. And I could talk forever. So before we plug all your stuff again, really quick, let's just do like a rapid fire. I used to do these on some videos. If you've watched, you might have seen. So I'm gonna hit you with a couple questions, just first thing that comes to your mind. Are you game?
Let's do it.
Okay, so favorite band growing up, favorite band now?
All right. 9 Inch Nails. Ooh, that was a hard one because I've been jumping around. I'm going to just say Matt Black.
Okay. Favorite author now and when you were younger?
Ooh, my young boy book is Where the Wild Things Are.
Okay.
That kind of stuck with me for a while. My book now, I probably want to say the most I reread is Fight Club. I think I'm still a Fight Club.
Okay. And then favorite poetry author?
That's a hard one because I don't read that many poems. It's very strange because this one's actually, he's a musician. It's Cold Cave. So Wes Isold from Cold Cave, he releases his poetry. I'm on it. Like whenever he releases it, I'm like, I'll buy right now.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. And then favorite concert you've been to?
9 Inch Nails, the last concert they made. I was so happy because I never seen his other project, How to Destroy Angels, with his wife. she came on stage and they sang like 2
Oh,
songs.
that's dope.
I was like, this is world changing now. Like
I've
they
actually,
haven't played. Hmm?
yeah, I've actually never seen them. That's like the one band I haven't seen. I'm pretty sure my mom has seen them though.
They go all out, like with light shows and stuff. They go all out.
Oh, that's cool. Favorite big venue that you've played at and favorite small venue you've played at?
So the big venue is the Wiltern. I did enjoy the Wiltern a lot. They were just so super nice to us. And then small, very, very, I love it. I love how small it was. It was a toss up with the whiskey, but I'm going to say the Knitting Factory. It's closed down now.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, Knitting Factory was so small, and like they knew all of us by name. We were always there. Like when they were like, we even played for free sometimes because we just loved how small it was, and it gets like hot in there, and it's very personal.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I feel like the whiskey was always when I moved to California, it was such a big deal to me because that's where Motley Crue played, and I was like, the whiskey a go-go, I gotta go there.
Everyone needs to go there. Everyone still needs to go. And it's so small. Like it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's what's a cool thing about the Troubadour too. The Troubadour or what's the other one by whiskey? Oh shit. It's not the Viper Room, but there's another one. The Rainbow Room maybe, or what is that other one across the street? It's like it's on the same side as the whiskey. I've been there for 311 and I can't think of the name of it.
That's funny. I'll never remember these names.
Yeah, there's so many of them in LA, but
yeah, like House of Blues is gone too, I think.
yeah, House of Blues closed. That was sad.
Roxy? The Roxy closed?
The Roxy, that's what it is. Yes.
But the Roxy closed?
No, I don't think it's, well, maybe right now just because COVID.
Yeah,
But I saw 311 play there and it was crazy because 311 fans are like so passionate and there was no barricades and you're like, they're like just crowd stage.
I love it.
So that's cool. And then, okay, so then I guess the general statement, what does goth really mean to you?
That one's very easy. I've been using this term a lot, is finding the beauty in darkness. So we all have those dark times. So you trying to appreciate. So like how even you stated that you had a dark past, but look at you now. That's finding the beauty in that darkness.
Yeah, this is kind of funny. I always say I'm trying to find the magic. Like just find your magic. So that's kind of, yeah, like almost like same but different, you know?
It's same but in the Disney world.
Yeah, that's why my logo has that little magical thing right here.
Yeah.
The magic I'm trying to like give to the world.
I love it. I love it. It goes along with you too and your personality.
Oh, thank
Lovely.
you.
So,
I try. And then let's see. And then favorite thing about music and then favorite thing about books.
Okay, my favorite thing about books is a whole universe you build. It's this whole story. You wonder what's happening over there and stuff like that. Like it's a little insight of the book. Book 1 and book 2, you kind of see other person's perspective. The best way I could put it right now, which I hate, is like Twilight, how the first book is under Bella and the latest book she releases Edward's point of view.
That's kind of like 50 Shades of Grey too.
Yeah, so you have both sides. And I think that's interesting.
That's really interesting because I loved when I read 50 Shades of Grey. I liked 50 Shades of Grey for the love story, guys. Let me just clear that. I'm not into that other stuff, but like the love story of it was like the best. And they did one perspective in Christian's like book in his perspective, and that was my favorite book actually.
Yeah, it's interesting because she built this world, and now you can see the expanded world. You can see like him going over there. I didn't know he went over there, but that's where he went. So there's that. That's my favorite thing about books. My favorite thing about music is just being able to play with weird stuff. Once you hear the rap album, you'll hear that I'm playing with weird sounds. And then you'll notice that some of those sounds I use in Alexander Boyd too. So I use in this dark, dark place, but then I use that same little percussion sound in this happy place. So just playing with people and playing with that, I just use some weird sounds.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. And then worst thing about books, worst thing about music.
Worst thing about books is that sometimes I get sleepy. I try to pay attention, but I always told myself, if I'm reading this and my mind is thinking of groceries or thinking of something else, I need to stop reading.
Yeah.
So I have to like stay focused, which is hard a lot of times, especially in this ever-moving world.
Yeah.
And especially now that we're so used to like Instagram to scroll. So there's that. And then music, there's never enough. Like there's so much music in the world, but it's so hard to find what's right for me.
Yeah, that's true. Like your niche or what you connect to. That's true.
Spotify tries, but sometimes I listen to something I don't like. So, and then Spotify's like, oh, you like this? Like, no, I didn't.
Or sometimes they suggest things, but then there's other stuff they don't suggest that you end up finding, and you're like, I really like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like, how did this happen? So a lot of times when I find music, I find it through other musicians of the bands that I like.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So like the other day, Matt Black, the lead singer, his name's Alex as well. He posted something on his story, and it was a band I never heard before. And I'm like, who is Modern Panther? So I looked it up. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling this. So bands that I like, when they like other bands, it works. It works.
You like it. Oh, that's cool.
It's like,
oh, sorry, you go first.
it's like when you watch a band, you go see the band that you love, and they have openers, and the openers are kind of similar to it.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's actually so. That's how I discovered a lot of bands actually. Like, back in my, because I was totally the emo girl. Like, dyed my hair funky colors, checkered skinny jeans, purple skin. I was definitely emo girl. I think I don't know if I posted like a trilogy of
stories, yeah.
And I was totally emo girl, like wearing fake glasses and weird hats and like going to all the bands, like so emo girl. So I remember like I discovered so many other bands by who they brought on with them.
Yeah, I saw your story. It's quite the compilation of pictures.
Oh my god, so embarrassing.
Yeah, I like that you didn't care. You were like, nope, this is it.
Yeah, you know what? I guess I've learned over the year, I used to care. I used to really get affected and like personally affect how I thought of myself by other people. Like, because I was bullied and I dressed so fucking weird. And you think you're cool at the time, but you're not, because people tell you you're not cool. And then you're like, I fucking suck. And then I guess I used to be embarrassed of it. And I used to like not be able to laugh at myself. And then as I grew older, I just like, I don't give a fuck. That's who I used to be. This is what I look like now. So I think at the end of it, I was like, this is me at 26. Like, glow up. So it's like, I've just kind of learned to laugh at myself now.
And that's good. That also shows that you're happy with where you are and who you are now.
Yeah. So I think it also, like, I don't know if you feel this too, but when you kind of look back to your earlier days, there's more of an appreciation for it now too.
I saw myself growing. I saw what I was becoming. I was like, yeah, I don't know why I put these two things together, but yeah. Like, I remember I saw an old Christmas picture of me, and I was wearing all black with a red tie. I was like, I was listening to My Chemical Romance.
Yes, my God. I'm so upset that concerts like are on hold, because I wanted to go to that concert so bad and it sold out in like a minute, not even.
Ooh, I know people who had tickets and all of them are so like sad right now.
You know, it's so crazy. But I know I've taken so much of your day, and I really, really appreciate your time, especially on your only day off. So it was so just interesting to learn all of this about you, and more to come. So March 19th, we have the album. Books to come, other albums to come. April 1st, we'll get the rap album. Is there anything else? Your YouTube channel, we'll tag it, but also for people that listen, do you want to just say all your titles of where they can find you?
All right, so everything is under The Alexander Void or Alexander Void. It's hard because everyone takes Alexander Void. Like TikTok, I have The Alexander Void. Instagram is The Alexander Void.
We'll tag it.
And then the rest is Alexander Void, so Twitter, Alexander Void, which I hardly ever use. Really just find me on Instagram, and now let's see if I could do TikTok.
I know, I have to learn TikTok too, so we're in the same boat.
I'm like so lost. I'm so lost. Like one of my videos right now is like almost at 700, and then it was like at 5. I'm like, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong?
Yeah, it's just, I feel like the algorithms for everything are just so weird. Mm-hmm. But as long as you keep making content, people are still going to be interested.
Mm-hmm. They'll find you. Because you're putting stuff out there.
Yeah. And then any last parting words or advice for anyone listening or watching?
Take your time to make your music. Follow every piece of your art, whatever you want. Like, I know it's messy. This is a lot for me to carry, but I'm honestly happy that I'm pursuing all my art. So I think everyone should, and just feel it. If you don't feel it, it's okay. Take a step back. That's it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, oh my gosh, this was just so rad, honestly, like no pun intended, because you just do really a lot of rad shit, and you're going to release a lot of rad shit. And so I'm just like happy to be on the ride of like witnessing it.
Yeah, I'm happy you made a podcast. This is actually very you.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for having me on. I'm so happy this happened. This was fun.
And we'll for sure have to have you come back if you'd like to.
I would love to.
Awesome. Well, you have a good rest of your day and go get your errands done. And thanks so much.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.